Today we discover 6 countries that might be just what you're looking for if you're concerned that Kamala Harris might win the US elections, or in the case you are pro-Trump, these might be good countries for you to live. I dug deep into each country's policies to see which ones align with values like lower taxes, safer communities, and secure borders. I also had been to most of them and saw firsthand how these things work there. Many Americans feel like the country isn't what it used to be. And if that's how you feel, I'm not going to disagree. You know better than me, I'm just a random expat advisor living in Europe. Several countries offer values that align with the average Trump voter's preferences. Some offer lower taxes, others have strong borders, very high levels of safety, and a life on your terms. Some of the places I will mention even offer all those things together. But first of all, a disclaimer, this channel is not about politics, it's about moving abroad. And to keep it impartial, my next video after this one will be for voters from Kamala Harris who decided to move out if Trump wins. However, I'm making this video because I too moved abroad due to political turmoil. And it was one of the best decisions of my life. See, around 1 decade and a half ago, a party called the Workers' Party was in power in my country. And they elected a certain candidate who made things she shouldn't. It went bad, without little hope of getting better. Then is when I decided to move out. It was the right moment to do so. After that, violence increased and the economy collapsed. I'm not saying that this will also happen with the US, but if a Kamala Harris presidency has you worried, these 6 countries could be your perfect escape. So time to start. The first country is Malta. Looking for lower taxes and safer streets? Well, Malta offers exactly that for you. In 2023, there are only 3 homicides in Malta. This makes it one of the safest countries in the world, with a homicide rate of only 0.56 cases per 100,000 residents per year. For comparison, the homicide rate in France is 3 times higher, and in the US, 12 times higher. Other crimes like car theft are extremely rare there. After all, it's an island and a small one. Therefore, there are not many ways for someone to escape a no-steal with a stolen car. In terms of society, Malta is a curious case. In some points, it is as liberal as California. Take their instance on homosexual marriage, for example. On other subjects, like abortion, it's the opposite. Malta has one of the strictest abortion laws in Europe, with a near total ban on abortion in all circumstances, much more restrictive than current US laws. Trump supporters in general tend also to favor less economic intervention from the state, and at this point Malta also goes well. It might not be as regulated as Florida, but surely it has less government spending and intervention than countries like France. Another advantage of Malta, and that is probably the most impressive one, is the low tax on income from abroad. Malta offers a very appealing tax system for retirees, especially through the Global Residence Program, GRP. With this program, foreign residents pay a flat tax of 15% on income brought into Malta from abroad. If you don't bring your foreign income into Malta, it isn't taxed at all. This is a big benefit for retirees with foreign income because they can choose when to send money to Malta and reduce their taxes. The US-Malta Double Taxation Agreement, effective since 2010, helps avoid double taxation for American expats, meaning they can avoid paying twice on the same income. There are some requirements for this program, and also a few other great benefits. If you're curious about this tiny but attractive island, I made an entire video on Malta. The link for it is in the description and in the comment section. After Malta, another country that might be a good destination for voters of Donald Trump is Croatia. Just like in Malta, American expats benefit from the US-Croatia Double Tax Treaty, which allows them to claim credits on Croatian taxes paid. Croatia also invested considerably in border security, and is a very safe country. Probably way safer than where you are right now. During the 90s, when the country was at war, there was a lot of violence there, but since then criminality has dropped drastically. Today, Croatia has less than 1 murder per 100,000 residents per year, and in 2022, the entire country had 31 homicides only. To put it into perspective, the city of Newark, New Jersey, had in the same year 50 homicides. So an American city with 300,000 residents had more homicides than Croatia, a country with 4 million residents, 12 times more people. That is how safe Croatia is. Unless you say their cevapi is not good, so don't do that. Another pro is that Croatia is one of the easiest countries in Europe to buy real estate. They allow foreigners to buy land as long as their country also allows Croatians to buy land there, which is the case in the US. This is a principle called reciprocity. For more about Croatia, check this video I made covering it. The link is in the comment section. The third country on our list for Americans planning to move abroad if Kamala wins is Switzerland. Yes, this is an expensive country to live in, but it still might be the best place you ever heard about. Imagine living in a country where you might pay only 7.5% of income tax. It is one of the safest in Europe. Switzerland, in many aspects, fulfill numerous points defended by Trump voters. Like gun rights, Switzerland is the most heavily armed country in Europe, with more than 45 guns for every 100 residents. It's basically one gun for every 2 inhabitants. It's also very safe, even safer than the previously mentioned Croatia. Switzerland had 42 homicides in the last year registered. We are talking about a country with almost 9 million residents. With 1/3 of Switzerland's population, Chicago has 711 homicides in the same period, 17 times more than Switzerland, despite having just 1/3 of the population. One thing that comes to everyone's mind when we talk about Switzerland is the low taxes. To understand the taxation structure in Switzerland, first we must remember that this country is officially a confederation. It means that the states that compose it, called cantons, have an enormous level of autonomy, even more autonomy than the states of the United States have. Remember when some American states also tried to form a confederation? So, the cantons in Switzerland have such a degree of autonomy that most of the taxes are defined by them, not by the central government. Some cantons like Basel, Geneva, or Vaud have income tax rates similar to those in European countries like Germany. But there are cantons like Zug or Appenzell where the income tax is a fraction of that. In Zug, for example, someone earning 100,000 francs per year would be taxed at only 7.5%. Known for its business-friendly environment, Switzerland minimizes regulation often in line with US business freedoms. So we are talking about a country with low income taxes, very low crime, but a relatively high cost of living. However, during my stay there, I think it was slightly cheaper than New York. I spoke more about Switzerland in this video here, which you can find in the comment section. Still, if the cost of living in Switzerland makes you nervous, the next country on our list is a more appropriate choice. But before I review the surprising country, I would like to ask a small favor. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. So the next country is Poland, an alternative with a much lower cost of living. Are you looking for a place where conservative values still thrive? That might be the case in Poland, or at least part of Poland. This is the country where I live right now, and if you have the feeling that in the US, bigger cities are more liberal while smaller cities are more conservative, in Poland this discrepancy is much higher. A person who visits the Polish capital nowadays will see a very liberal metropolis that has been electing leftist politicians since, I don't know when, but it feels like ever. And it has a liberal atmosphere similar to any large European capital, except for the violence, since Warsaw is still very safe. The same is valid for other large Polish cities like Wrocław or Poznan. Meanwhile, smaller cities are the very opposite. Smaller cities, especially in the southern and eastern part of the country, are very conservative. Another striking difference between Warsaw and the rest is that Warsaw is weirdly expensive, sometimes 2 or 3 times more than cities like Rzeszów or Lublin. Nowadays, Warsaw is more expensive than many European capitals like Berlin, for example. So the pro of a low cost of living in Poland applies to smaller cities, but not to its capital. I recommended some great smaller cities to live in this video here, and I left the link for it in the comment section. In these smaller cities, the atmosphere is more family-oriented, and they almost always vote for conservative politicians. Nationwide, legislation is also quite conservative, at least for European standards. Their divorce law is more restrictive. You need to have a solid reason to divorce, since marriage is an institution protected by law. Abortion is highly restricted in Poland, similar to more conservative US states. Also, Poland is one of the few countries in Europe where homosexual marriage is not recognized. Another thing that Poland has in common with Trump's agenda is how it protects its borders. They built a long, tall border wall, reinforced by military devices and watched 24/7 by the army, all to avoid the waves of illegal immigrants sent by Russia and Belarus during their hybrid attacks against Poland in the last years. In terms of safety, Poland is among the safest in the world, and it has remarkably good numbers in safety for women. It has some of the lowest rates of assault against women and rape in the entire Europe. In 2022, the entire country had 270 homicides in total. Philadelphia, one single city in Pennsylvania, had 410 homicides in 2023. So Poland, with 38 million residents, had fewer killings than Philadelphia, a city with 1.6 million people. Of course, like most countries, some regions in Poland are more dangerous than others. For example, Mazovia, the region around Warsaw, accounts for over a quarter of all homicides. But even if you compare a place considered dangerous in Poland with any US state, it is still much safer. Just be aware that if from all the countries on this list, you choose Poland, their language is difficult, very difficult. Well-known languages like English, Portuguese, Spanish, French, or Italian have no grammar cases. Meanwhile, languages that are considered hard, like German, Norwegian, or Greek, have between 2 and 4 cases. Polish, meanwhile, has 7 cases. Almost every word has multiple forms. For example, a dog can be pies, psa, psu, psen, or psy. It all depends on the position of the word in the phrase. Despite being so difficult, I learned Polish using a method to learn languages that is quite innovative, called Linqui, which also offers 40 other languages. In the comment section I left the link for you to try it, and if you decide to subscribe to Linqui using that link, it gives you a 40% discount. From Europe, we go to South America for the next country on the list, Argentina. Since Argentina is located in Latin America, the most violent region in the world, probably your first concern here would be safety, right? But do you know that the homicide rates in Argentina are actually much lower than in the US? With only 4.3 cases per 100,000 residents per year, Argentina is the second safest Latin American country. And the safest one is also the next country on our list, so keep watching. For comparison, the US has a homicide rate of 6.4 homicides per 100,000 people per year, a number 48% higher than Argentina. Another concern many Americans might have is that the economy of Argentina was not in its best form in the last few decades. And that is true. Their currency devaluated so badly that Brazilian supporters mocked their Argentinian rivals by destroying Argentinian money during football games. However, in 2023, Argentina elected Javier Milei, who, for many, has some striking similar points to Trump. Since then, their economy improved in many aspects. For those who prize traditional values, Argentina's culture may resonate well. Argentines highly value family, community, and national pride, similar to the emphasis many Trump supporters place on patriotism and conservative values. But, just like in the case we mentioned before with Poland, how conservative or progressive the Argentinian society is heavily depends on how big the city you are living in. Argentina's cultural, religious, and traditional views are more present outside of Buenos Aires, in smaller municipalities. In those smaller cities, communities embrace a slower, family-centered lifestyle. Recently, I made a video comparing Argentina with Uruguay, and there are some cities I recommend inside this wonderful country. The link is in the comment section. And now is the time for the biggest surprise in this list. A tiny country located in Central America, a nation that until decades ago was the most violent in the world, a society that was crushed by gang warfare, crime, and corruption. But then this man came to power. And not without his fair share of polemic measures, he changed everything. I'm talking about El Salvador. Nowadays, the safest place in the Western Hemisphere. And also one of the few countries in the world where Bitcoin is legal tender. Just like Argentina, El Salvador elected a leader with some Trump-like characteristics. He built the biggest prison in the world and destroyed gangs by jailing 2% of the population. The crime rate dropped 96%, and from the most dangerous country in the world, it became the safest in the continent. But his changes extend way beyond safety or the incentive to cryptocurrencies. So if you're interested in knowing more about the spectacular changes El Salvador went through, Check this video here at your left. What Bukele did there is nothing short of astonishing.